So hello everyone and welcome back to another very important video session from your own channel Let's Crack NEET UG English. My name is Vipin Kumar Sharma and I am your biology mentor, and I am back with a brand new course to score 350 plus marks for the NEET UG aspirants who are preparing for this competitive examination in English language. It means that if you want to complete your whole syllabus in English, then you can subscribe to this channel, because there are a lot of good educators who are working on this channel who are going to complete your syllabi of physics, chemistry, and biology respectively on this channel. Okay, so please make sure to hit the subscribe button so that we can get an energy to do the work in a robust fashion. So guys, these are some important credentials of mine. You can have a look if you want. Otherwise, let's proceed. You can also get connected to us via Unacademy's learning app, one of the most downloaded apps by a lot of students in India, because this app really have the content for 30 plus entrance examination. You just need to search for this app, you need to install it in your device, and after that you need to click on the get a subscription icon. When you are going to click on get subscription for NEET UG, you will be getting a lot of packages, and from that packages you need to choose the package which is like very optimum for you guys. If you are preparing for NEET 2021, you can get the package of 1 year. If you are preparing for NEET 2022, you can just prepare, or you can just just get the package accordingly for 2 years. So it will be really helpful for you to get through the entrance examination. What you will get from the subscription pack, you will get the live classes on daily basis. It means that there will be a lot of courses which are presented to you by 50 plus top educators of India, and you can enroll in all of those courses just by taking a single subscription. And the most important thing that Unacademy provides you is the flexibility to change your teacher. For example, if you don't want to be taught by me, let's say, okay, for example, then you can choose another teacher of biology. If you do not like a teacher of chemistry, then you can go to second teacher of chemistry, third teacher of chemistry, fourth teacher of chemistry. Since there are 50 plus top educators for three subjects only, it simply means the data is very simple to understand and comprehend, that there are around like 15 to 20 teachers for a single subject. And that is the most brilliant part, because a single teacher can't be suitable to all the students, because the teaching methodology and the teaching pedagogy may suit to one guy and may not suit to another one. So it becomes really important for you to understand the importance of teacher switching. Okay, you can just choose your teachers accordingly. If you want to be taught by me, you can just watch my lectures only. Okay, there will be live tests and quizzes which are surely going to give you guys a real analysis of your performance, and they will be giving you a lot of questions to solve, and from those questions you will be getting a feeling of examination at your home, at your own place, with safety. There will be structured courses. It means that no random videos will be made. For example, I have already completed the cell biology, that is cell cycle, cell division, cell the unit of life, and biomolecules in my plus class. So if you want to join my batch, you will be getting recorded videos of my course. And in this month, I'm going to start genetics and evolution. So you can carry on and you can just clear up the backlog in parallel, and you can just get all the live classes from me. There will be unlimited access. It means that if you want to go through a video 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, it's totally your call. There is no upper limit set by Unacademy. You can watch the videos as many times as possible. There is a new thing that is called as iconic subscription. So what is iconic subscription? In iconic subscription, you will be getting all the important parts, all the important features of a normal subscription, plus you will be getting a personalized coach. It means that there will be an educator who will guide you throughout the entrance exam preparation. He will be telling you, he will be doing your test analysis, that in what chapters you need to do more work, in which chapters you are already doing well, you just need to wrap them up and you are ready for the examination. So you will be getting a personal coach who will be giving one-on-one guidance, and there will be a study planner or study timetable given to you on weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, so that you can basically follow it up to get the best results possible. And all the benefits of plus are already included in that iconic subscription. So the important three things that you will get over here is timetable, then your test analysis, and then a personalized coach who will surely guide you up. So the plus will have the basic points which we have already discussed, but the iconic will be having all the basic points plus some additional advantages. So iconic is much better as compared to the plus, but plus will be also having a lot of good features in it. So iconic is a little bit more costly because it will be giving you a personalized coach to which you can directly interact. So 1 year pack for iconic subscription is for around 45,000 rupees, but if you will apply my code weapon, you will surely get 10% instant discount, and you will be getting this subscription package in 40,500 only. Plus the 2 years pack is around of 61,000 rupees, but if you will be applying my code weapon, again you will be getting 10% discount, so you will be getting this subscription in 54,900 rupees only. So for discount you can just apply my code weapon, and it is a very good code to be applied because you will be directly coming in my batch. You can join the lectures, you can join the courses of as many teachers as possible. There will be no restriction, plus you will be getting 10% instant discount. The normal subscriptions is having price quite low as compared to the iconic one. For example, the 1 month subscription is of 5,400 rupees per month. So in per month you need to pay around like 5,500 rupees. But here in case of 24 months, you need to pay 32,400 rupees after applying code weapon, which is around 1,300 rupees only per month. So here the monthly cost is around 5,400, but here it is only 1,300 rupees. So the cost will become 5 times less if you will take a big subscription. So that's why I'm trying to tell you guys to take a bigger subscription, at least of 1 year or 2 year, by applying code weapon, so that you can get the maximum benefit out of it. So let's talk about the chapter Living World in detail, and we are starting with the discussion of scientist Ernest Mayr. Scientist Ernest Mayr is among the top 100 scientists who ever lived on earth. It means that if you are going to make a list of top 100 scientists, starting from the most ancient scientist till date to the most modern scientist, Ernest Mayr is surely going to be in top 100. Okay, he's surely going to be in the top 100. So he was born on 5 July 1904, and he also survived for 100 years. So he died in 2004, very recently. Okay, so he was born in Kempten, Germany, and he was also called as the Darwin of 20th century. Why he was called as the Darwin of 20th century? We know very well that Darwin was one of the biggest scientists. Okay, plus he was a very big evolutionary biologist. Ernest Mayr was compared to Darwin just because he also worked in the field of evolutionary biology. Okay, he worked on evolution, and since this unit is systematics, when we talk about animal kingdom, when we talk about plant kingdom, when we talk about biological classification, when we talk about the living world, it is just the systematics. So he worked really well in systematics and evolution, and just because of its deep contributions in evolution, he was compared to Darwin as a mark of appreciation. So that's why he called as the Darwin of 20th century. As I've already told you guys that he was amongst the 100 greatest scientists of all time. Okay, so 100 number was quite lucky or quite good for Ernest Mayr because he survived for 100 years, as well as he is one of the most brilliant scientists among the top 100 scientists of Earth. Okay, other than that, he has also given the currently accepted definition of biological species. So if someone will ask you that what is a species, you may have different kind of perspectives about it. Some scientists will be saying that each different kind of organism on earth represents a species, which is the standard definition. Some scientists will give the definition on the basis of the morphology of species. Some scientists will be giving the definition on the basis of anatomical feature of the species. Some scientists will be giving the definition on the basis of biochemical features of the species. But the biological concept of species was given by Ernest Mayr, which is the currently most accepted system. And I'm going to elaborate this in the next slide. We are just going to have an empty slide where we will be discussing in detail about the biological concept of species. The most important point is it is given by Ernest Mayr. Then he also got the Triple Crown of Biology. Triple Crown of Biology means there were 3 awards, and those awards represents the crown for a biologist. If a biologist got all these 3 awards in a sequence, it becomes a triple crown. So these were Balzan Prize, Crafoord Prize, and International Prize for Biology. And all these prizes were won by Ernest Mayr, and that's why it's been said that Ernest Mayr got the triple crown of biology. It becomes really important for us to understand the importance of these prizes in the life of a scientist. A researcher works for, basically the appreciation. His work deserves appreciation. So what he got the Balzan Prize, he got the International Prize for Biology, and he got the Crafoord Prize. Since he got all 3 of them, it is called as Triple Crown. So from this particular slide, from this particular article, we used to get a lot of things into our mind, and those things were, the very first part is Ernest Mayr survived for 100 years. Second, he was among the top 100 scientists of Earth. Third, he was called as the Darwin of 20th century. Fourth, he gave the currently accepted biological system, okay, the biological concept of species. Fifth, he got the triple crown of biology, that is Crafoord Prize, Balzan Prize, and International Prize for Biology. That is very important. So this is about Ernest Mayr, sir. Now let's talk about the biological concept of species. Just now I taken a name that it is the currently accepted definition. It is the currently accepted definition, okay, of a species. Now what does the biological concept of species suggest to us? It suggests that the individuals of same species, can breed together, the very first point. This is the first point, that the individuals of same species can breed together, plus if they are breeding, they will be giving rise to fertile offspring. It means that their offsprings will also be fertile, they can also reproduce further, fertile offsprings. So these are the two most important points. Now let us elaborate these points in detail. Let's say that there is a male donkey, and there is a female donkey. Now I am calling them donkey. It means that they are from the same species. So if they are going to breed together, they will be giving rise to donkey itself. Plus, it will be fertile. So the most important thing is they can breed together, and secondly, if they are breeding, they will be giving rise to a fertile offspring. That is the biological concept of species. If they are breeding and they give rise to a fertile offspring, what you can suggest? You can suggest that these two members were from the same species. It is the direct proof. As they are giving rise to a fertile offspring, it means that both of these, male and female, were from the same species. If they were from different species, they will never be able to give rise to a fertile offspring, as simple as that. Now let us take another example to understand this in a better way. Let's say that there is a male donkey. Now the physical appearance of donkey is quite similar. I mean, it is much related to horse. So let's say there is a female horse. It is called as Jack and Mare relationship. It is called as Jack and she is called as Mare. This is Jack and Mare relationship. Now we know very well that donkey and horse are not same species. Let's say they tried to breed together and they have breeded. So they have already done the part number one. Now what happens when their offspring arise? If they produce an offspring, that offspring will be called as what? Their offspring will be called as mule, which is commonly called as khachar in Hindi. Sandeep Maheshwari used to tell this term in his motivational seminar. So I'm a very big fan of Sandeep Maheshwari sir. So he used to use this word khachar. If you know him, if you follow him, obviously he has a lot of followers, and I'm also one of the biggest follower of him. So just go through his videos. So mule is not fertile. Mules are not fertile. What does this thing mean? This thing simply means that it is not fertile, means the parents were not of same species. Because if they were of same species and they are breeding together, their offspring will be fertile. But here it is not fertile. It simply means that it has tried to break the biological concept of species. So according to this particular thing that we have read till now, what is the species? The individual of same species can breed together, and when they are going to breed, they will be giving rise to the fertile offspring. This is the biological concept of species, which is currently most accepted system because it works. And second important thing is it is given by the scientist about which we have talked just now, that is Ernest Mayr sir. Okay, Ernest Mayr sir. So this was the biological concept of species. Now let's talk about the introduction of the living world chapter. Let's talk about this in detail because each and everything should be in your mind while going through this chapter. This chapter is very important because it gives you around 4 marks each and every year, and To get these marks is very easy because there is no huge concept in this chapter. The concepts are very easy and the concepts are very relatable. Plus, this chapter forms the base of your biology. If you are very clear through the living world and biological classification, you can touch any chapter in your syllabus. Because once you get through the biological classification system, you got to know about Monera, Protista, fungus, Plantae, Animalia. So you can just go down to any chapter and you can just talk about their cells, you can just talk about their animals, you can just talk about their plants or the individuals present in that particular category. So to read this chapter with precision is very important. So let's go through each and every point in detail. I have already got all the points of NCERT in this lecture, but I am going to tell you some extra points as well, which will be very important and critical for you guys to sustain well in the entrance examination. If you will be knowing some facts which some students will not be knowing, then only you will be able to make it to the merit list. Okay, so introduction. The wide range of living types is amazing. It means that, let's say, if there is an alien, there is Jadu, who came to Earth, the very first thing that he will be fascinated about, the very first thing that will make him more astonished is the variety of living organisms on Earth. In fact, the human beings who are living on this earth from thousands of years, and let's say you are living on this earth for, let's say, 17, 18, 19 years, sometimes you see some kind of beetles, some kind of insects which you have seen for the very first time, and it fascinates you that what kind of insect it is. You take photographs, you take pictures of such insect or such birds. The earth is so vast that it is critically impossible to find each and every species present on earth. The wide range of living type is amazing. It means that on earth there are a lot of species, and the total number of species that is found on earth is around 1.7 to 1.8 million. And to be very honest on this, it is not the total number of species present on earth, but it is the total number of species identified till date. According to Robert May, the number of species that are present on earth are much more than this. Okay, 5-6 times more than this particular number. Okay, so these are identified or discovered till now, or basically described till now. Some are extremophils. Extremophils, this word comes from two different words. Extreme simply means the harsh conditions, and phil simply means loving. It simply means that the organisms which live in harsh environment are called as extremophile. There are some organisms that loves acid. I mean, if a few drops of acid will be poured on your hand will surely got burned. But the acidophilic organisms will be dancing in that acidic atmosphere or acidic environment because they love that. Their body condition is of such type that they love acidic condition, so they will be loving acid. They will be called as acidophils. If they will be loving the temperature or high temperature, there are a lot of organisms who used to live in geysers, and when the geysers is at the top temperature, that is around 100 degrees Celsius, or even more than that, in that temperature also a lot of organisms can survive. They are called as thermophils. Okay, they are called as thermophils because they are surviving at a very high temperature. So there are acidophils, there is thermophils. Such kind of organisms are also named on the basis of the condition where they are found. They could be psychrophils, they could be semophils, a lot of organisms. So they are living in the harsh conditions or the extreme conditions, so they are called as extremophils. So there are some organisms which do have specific cell wall nature that makes them more resistant towards the harsh condition. So that's why they are able to survive over here. This line is very important and one of the most interesting lines in living world. A lot of teachers do not explain this line, but it do have a lot of deep meanings. So let's go through this line very well. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among populations of a community, and even the molecular traffic inside the cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. It means that lives used to just go to an advanced level, okay, when we are emerging. It means that we know very well that these are atoms. Let's say these are atoms. Let's say this is carbon, this is oxygen, this is hydrogen. So these are atoms. These atoms will combine and they will form the molecules. Let's say this carbon and oxygen has combined and it has formed the CO2, or it has formed the carboxylic group. Okay, and let's say there is nitrogen as well. So this nitrogen and hydrogen form the amino group. Okay, and after that, what it has formed, this molecule has formed a compound. Okay, let's say it has formed an amino acid, and these amino acids along with lipids and carbohydrate will be forming your cell, and these cells will be forming your tissues, and tissues will be forming your organs will be forming your organ system will be forming the whole organism will be forming the population. So the ecological conflict and cooperation among, okay, it is very important to note that, one second, let me take the highlighter. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population, it means that the members of a population used to help each other. Let's say you didn't have enough milk to make a tea. You just go to your neighbor and you borrow some milk from him or her. So what is that? That is the cooperation between population. Ecological conflict simply means the population, different population will also be competing with each other. Let's say that there is a forest. In forest there are bananas only. So the elephant also want to eat that banana, the gorilla also want to eat that banana. So what will be there? There will be some sort of competition between them. Okay, so there will be conflict as well as cooperation depending upon what kind of relation is established between the populations. Among the populations of a community, in a community there are a lot of populations of variety of organisms, so they will also be helping out each other and they will also be competing with each other for the resources. And in fact the molecular traffic inside the cell, or basically the molecules of a cell, will also be working accordingly, will also be interacting accordingly to make a cell great, to make a cell more advanced, to make a cell more emerged. That is called as ecological conflict and cooperation. So at the higher levels, when you go from a lower level to higher level, there will be advancements in the characters. Okay, let's say there are some cells. There are some cells. Okay, let's say there are three cells. These three cells will be having minute properties. Okay, but when they interact with each other, they used to make tissues which will be more advanced. It used to make tissues which will be more advanced and it will be having some new properties as well, and this feature is called as emergence. Okay, it will be called as emergence. So when the tissues are formed from the cell, there will be some emerging properties which will be present in the tissues. Similarly, when organ is formed from the tissues, the organ will be having some additional properties that were coming from the interaction. यानी कि जब हायर लेवल पे कोई चीज इंटरेक्ट करती है ना, तो आपकी हायर प्रॉपर्टीज बन जाती हैं. यानी सेल में कोई ऐसी प्रॉपर्टी नहीं थी खास, ओके, जो कि टिश्यूज में है. क्यों? इट केम फ्रॉम द इंटरेक्शन ऑफ सेल्स. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द इमर्जेंस. Okay, it means that when you will go from lower level to higher level, there will be more interaction, and due to that more interaction there will be more emergence as well. It is very important from examinations point of view. Now we, when we try to define living, we conventionally look for the distinctive characteristics exhibited by the living organism. There are two different questions that can come in your mind. The very first thing is, what is the purpose of life? You are going into a philosophical aspect, that why God has created us. Okay, what is our purpose for being living? What we can do to this earth? That is a philosophical question. Second is the scientific question that a scientist can reply with good proofs. That is, what does the living have that a non-living doesn't have? It means that you need to differentiate. You need to differentiate between a living and a non-living thing. That is a scientific question. Plus, the second question is a philosophical question. Okay, philosophical question, that why God have created us and why are we surviving on this earth? Do we have some good reason to be at this place? That is philosophical question that we are not going to ask anyhow, because we are scientists, we are not philosophers. So we are going to differentiate between the living organisms and the non-living things on the basis of variety of characters. And what are those characters? Let's say you are not a scientist, you are a student who are reading in 7th class or 8th class, एंड आई एम आस्किंग यू अ क्वेश्चन कि बेटा लिविंग और नॉन लिविंग में क्या फर्क होता है. तो एक जो स्टूडेंट है 7th क्लास का, उसके दिमाग में कुछ चीजें आएंगी. एंड व्हाट वर दोज थॉट्स वर a living organism can move, a non-living organism cannot. At that particular time he might not be thinking about the plant move, but let's say it's a good thing to ponder on. It's a good reason. Second, we can breathe, we can take oxygen. The non-living thing doesn't require oxygen. We do have cells, the non-living things doesn't have cell. Okay, we can reproduce, the non-living thing can't reproduce. Okay, we can sense the things, we do have the sensory organs. But if you will hit this stylus, it won't give any kind of response because it is non-living. It doesn't have the sensory receptors, or it doesn't have anything, any muscle to respond accordingly. So these are some things that will come into your mind. So we are going to make a list of all those characters, and one by one we are trying to find out that which of the following is a correct or distinctive character of living organism. Okay, so growth is the first thing. Obviously, when you have planted a tree, or if you have planted a seed, then it was basically very small. But after sprouting, after making leaflets, after making plantlet, it became quite huge, and finally it becomes a tree which is even more larger, okay, in size. Similarly, you have started your journey as a cell. When the male gamete and female gamete has combined together, they have formed what? A single celled zygote. And from that single cell zygote, you have formed your all body parts. You have formed billions and trillions of cells. That is just because of the cell division, or that is just because of the growth. But this mouse is not going to grow anyhow. If I'll be keeping that mouse over here for 2 days, 3 days, there will be no increment in the size of this mouse. So non-living things can't grow, but living things or living organisms can grow. This is the optimum thing. Reproduction. Living organisms can reproduce. For example, I can reproduce, a butterfly can reproduce, a bacteria can also form daughter bacterium cells. But this mouse will not be giving rise to another mouse. This will remain as the way it is made. There will be no change in the structural property of this mouse at all. So it will not be reproducing. So it is also a good thing. We are going to talk about the exceptions, but currently we are just taking an overview. The ability to sense environment, as I've told you, and when you are going to sense environment, you have to give a suitable response that come into your mind immediately. Let's say this is the stylus, and this stylus is quite pointed. Obviously it's a pen, it will be having a nib at the top. So let's say I'm just pricking my hand like this. So what will happen? It will create a sensation in my hand, and my hand will be giving the signal via, to my central nervous system or to my brain. That information will be processed in my brain, and ultimately I will be giving a response with the help of my muscles, that I need to keep my hand away from the stylus, otherwise it will hurt me more. So this is what? This is sensation, and this is response. Both the things together constitute the consciousness. So what is consciousness? Okay, what is consciousness? It is formed up of two parts. The very first part is the sensation part, or the sensory part. It means that you need to understand the change in the surrounding, or the change in the environment. If there is any environmental change, or if there is any sudden effect, then you will be sensing it. That is the first part. Second part is response. In response to that sensation, you will be mounting a suitable reaction, that is called as response. Both of these things makes the consciousness. Okay, let's say if I'm sensing a particular thing but I'm not doing anything in response, then it is half reaction. It is obviously a half reaction, that I have sensed the thing that कि भैया वो मुझे मार रहा है, और मेरे दिमाग में सिग्नल चला गया, and after that I'm not doing against it, I'm like doing nothing. Either I have to fight back, or I have to run, okay, or I have to request him that I'm not that guy which you are searching for, so you hit the wrong guy. Okay, ultimately there is some sort of reaction depending upon your personality. If you are a dude, you will surely be fighting back. If you are a normal guy, if you are full of patience, then you will be requesting him, and you will be talking to him patiently. Depending upon your body, there will be a lot of response that should be mounted according to the changing situation. So in every sense, okay, there will be a response or reaction to it. Okay, so These are some things that will coming in your mind when you will be asked about the living and non-living organism. One can add a few more features like metabolism. Metabolism is what? Metabolism is the sum total of all the chemical reaction that occurs inside your cells. Your body is formed up of cells, and those cells will be having a lot of chemical reaction. Let's say that you had glucose in your body. Let's say you had a glass of glucon D. So glucose has entered into your body, into your cell. What this glucose is going to do? Either these extra glucose is going to be stored in the form of glycogen, since we are animals, so it could be stored in the glycogen form, or it can give you energy. If it is going to give you energy, that glucose need to pass from a pathway of 10 reactions. There will be 10 reactions which are called as glycolysis. So from this glycolysis, the glucose will be converted into pyruvic acid. From this pyruvic acid, it could either be fermented. If there is low oxygen in your body, it can go into the fermentation, or it can do what? It can do the aerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, it can either go to the TCA cycle first, and then it will go to ETS. It is tricarboxylic acid cycle, which is commonly called as the Krebs cycle, and it is basically the electron transport system. So there are a lot of reactions which are occurring with this glucose molecule. Since you have just drank a glass of glucon D, so what does this glucose basically does in your body? Either it will be going to give rise to the energy by forming pyruvate, or entering into TCA cycle, or entering into electron transport system, or it will be making the glycogen. Okay, or it will be making the glycogen and getting stored into your body. So ultimately, what are these reactions called? These reactions are called as metabolic reactions. Okay, and not only this, there are thousands of compounds in your body, there are thousands of biomolecules in your body. Each and every biomolecules is getting formed from some more chemicals, and it is getting broken down, or it is forming some other biomolecules also. So this transition is termed as metabolism. All the reactions that occur in your body, on and all, these are called as metabolism. We are going to talk about this in detail in the next class, so you don't have to worry about anything. Ability to self-replicate, it means that replication means to make a copy. Okay, it means that you can reproduce, or you can just basically replicate your DNA. Your DNA, or the blueprint of your life, that is called as deoxyribose nucleic acid, you can copy it, you can make its copies. That is called as replication process. Self-organize, you can organize yourself in a better way. You are formed from a single cell only, that is called as zygote. As I've already told you over here, that there is a male gamete, there is a female gamete, which are called as sperm and egg respectively. They had formed a diploid zygote, which is a single cell, all right. How does this single cell divide? Obviously by mitosis. And this single cell is forming your whole body. This single cell knows all the things, that how to make a complete organism. At what particular place the hands are going to be formed. At what particular place the legs are going to be formed. At what particular place the eyes are going to be formed. Ear, nose, neck, each and everything is situated properly in your body. And in all the living organisms, in all the other human beings, each and everything is present at a perfect place. This property is called as the organization property. Your diploid zygote already know how to organize the organs, and how to make your complete body look better, look normal. So all these information are already present in the zygote in the form of your DNA. Okay, and that will help the zygote to make your body look normal. Okay, in all the living organisms, in all the human beings. So interaction is also very important, as I've already told you in the previous slide, that interaction is a very important part. And when the lower things interact, they will make a higher level of organization, and that will lead to emergence. It means that at higher level, there will be more greater characters emerging up. Okay, that is the thing that we have already talked about over here, that we called emergence. Okay, that we called emergence. So we just repeated the same thing in the next slide. Now growth, which is the first part of this lesson. Now we need to differentiate between the living and non-living things, and we already talked about the general aspects that we need to ponder on. We can talk about growth, we can talk about reproduction, we can talk about self-replication, we can talk about consciousness, we can talk about metabolism, we can talk about cellular organization. So we are going to talk about each and everything in a detailed way, one by one. So the first character that we are taking into consideration is the growth. This is the first character that we are taking into account. So all the living organisms grow. All the living organisms basically grow. It means that all livings have the ability to increase their mass and increase their number of individuals because the growth have twin characteristics. It means that the growth could be done by two ways. The very first way that we know is increase in mass. Let's say there is a short plantlet. That plantlet will be having a weight of around half kg, and let's say it becomes a huge tree. It will be having a weight of thousands of kg. There will be increment in mass of living organism. It means that it is growing. When you were a child, you were basically of around, let's say, 17 kg, 20 kgs, and currently you will be having a weight of around 45 kgs, 50 kgs, 55 kgs, 60 kgs, depending upon your weight. It means that your mass is increasing, you are growing. Secondly, let's say you have done dieting, okay, and your mass has decreased, but the cells in your body are obviously increasing. You will be showing continuous cellular division. So increase in the number of cells or increase in the number of individuals is also the twin characteristic. So increase in the number of individuals or cells is also the character. Okay, so these two characters makes the growth. What are the twin characters? The twin characters of growth are: number one, increase in mass or increment in mass. The number second character is increase in the number of individuals. A multicellular organism grows by cell division. It means that if there is a multicellular organism which do have a lot of cells, it will be showing the cell division. For example, human beings. If I need to, make or regenerate some of my tissues, let's say I met an accident, so there will be some sort of injuries in my hand. Those injuries will be healed in some time just because a lot of cell divisions takes place in that particular place that regenerates my epithelium of the skin. So in multicellular organism, the growth is by cell division. For example, you were a diploid zygote at the very initial point of time. When you were just created, you were a single celled zygote. You need to divide again and again and again. Zygote need to divide again and again and again to form 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells, 32 cells, and so on to make up your whole body. It means that you are growing, you are increasing the number of cells that could only be met by the cell division process. That is very important. In plants, this cell division is unlimited. Okay, so it used to take place throughout the lifespan. It means that in a plant, if you have just dropped a seed on earth, it will be growing and it will be making up a plant. That plant can show the increment in their length, increment in their mass up to infinity, because there will be always some sort of addition of cells. There will be always some sort of additions of tissues into the plant because the meristematic cells always keeps on dividing. But in animal cell, the growth is seen only for a certain age. Let's say at a particular age, let's say 18 or 17, you basically stops growing. Your height doesn't increase after that particular point of time. So that is what? That is stoppage of the growth. But the cells can divide. The cell division can occur to replace the lost cell. As I've already told you guys, let's say that I met an accident, so there will be a lot of damage to tissues. Okay, that damaged tissue could be regenerated, that damaged tissue could be replaced by the cell division. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. Okay, unicellular organism also grow by cell division because unicellular organism will be having a single cell only. Let's say this is the single cell. Okay, when this cell is going to divide, it will be converting itself into two different cells. These are called as the daughter cells. So these are the daughter cell formed by the same parent cell. So what is happening over here? It is increase in number of individuals. So it is also the growth. Okay, what I have told you guys, that there is twin characteristics of growth. The first is increase in mass, that happens in case of animals and plants, that the mass of an organism is increasing day by day. But increase in number of individuals is present in case of the unicellular organism. It was a single organism called as the parent cell. When it has divided itself, it became two daughter cells. The number of individuals has increased from one cell to two cells. Number of individuals has increased. That is the most important point. So in unicellular organism, the cell division is itself a type of growth. So cell division and growth are the same things. One can easily observe this in vitro culture by simply counting the number of cells under the microscope. Let's say you do have the microscope and you can observe a cell easily in that microscope. If you are watching it down, then you will be seeing that one cell is getting divided into two. So what you can say, that the growth is occurring in a unicellular organism because the number of individuals is increasing. So you can easily see it in vitro. In vitro means outside the body. Okay, so these are not present in the inside any organism. You have just taken out some cells and you have just dropped them on a slide and you are watching it in the microscope. Since they have came out of the living system, that is called as the in vitro thing. Okay, mutually exclusive events. Now there is a difference between mutually exclusive and mutually inclusive events. So I'll surely be telling you about that in next to next slide. इंक्लूसिव एंड एक्सक्लूसिव के लिए अलग से मैंने एक स्लाइड बनाई है, मैं आपको डिटेल में इसमें बता दूंगा कि ये दोनों चीजें आखिर होती क्या है. नॉन लिविंग ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑल्सो ग्रो. नाउ मैंने आपको क्या कहा, आई जस्ट टोल्ड यू गाइस दैट देयर आर ट्विन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ ग्रोथ. द वेरी फर्स्ट इज इंक्रीज इन मास. Okay, increase in mass is also a growth. So that increase in mass could also take place in non-living things. Let's say there is a sand dune. एक मिट्टी का टीला है. There is a storm which bring more sand to that particular place. So if this was a sand dune and there will be more sand coming to this sand dune, the overall size, or we can say the overall mass of this particular sand dune has increased. If the mass of this sand dune has increased, it means that it is also showing growth. So the non-living could also show growth according to this particular character. Very, very important. So if you take increase in body mass as a criteria for growth, the mountains or the sand boulders or the sand mounds do grow. However, this kind of growth is from outer side, which is called as accretion. It is called as accretion process, which is done with the help of accumulation of material. It means that the materials are going to be accumulated on the surface of a particular thing. Let's say you have a car parked in a parking, which is an open parking. Let's say you have parked your car in a garden and you went to some place for 1 month and your car is staying back at that place only, in that garden only. So when you came back after 1 month, you will be watching your car which is full of dust which got accumulated on the surface. It has got some leaves accumulated on that. It has got a lot of things. Okay, because it is parked under a tree, so the birds are also paying their tribute to the car. So ultimately it will be having some more things accumulated on its surface. So can't we say that the mass of the car is increased at that particular point of time? Obviously yes. So they can also grow because increase in mass is also taken as a very important mark of growth. Okay, so the growth which is shown by non-living objects is just because of the accumulation of material on the surface, which is called as accretion. But in living organism, growth is from inside. So the growth is from outside in case of non-living things, which is called as accretion, and the growth is from inside in living organism, which is called as intussusception. Intussusception. Very, very important. Very, very essential to read. Growth is therefore cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism. A dead organism does not grow. So why growth is not taken as a defining feature of living organism? Firstly, you need to understand what is a defining feature. A defining feature is a feature which is present in 100% of the living organisms without any exception. It should be present in 100% of the living organism. Plus, it should not be present in any of the non-living things. इट मीन्स दैट अगर कोई ऐसी चीज है जो हर दुनिया के लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म में प्रेजेंट होगी और एक भी नॉन लिविंग प्रेजेंट नहीं होगी, सिर्फ उसे ही आप डिफाइनिंग बोलेंगे. सो ग्रोथ इज शोन बाय ईच एंड एवरी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म. इट इज करेक्ट, but it is also shown by non-living things such as sand mounds, sand boulders, mountains. So it is not a defining feature. That's why it cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism. That's why it is not taken as a defining property. This is the most important line that you need to learn from this particular article or this particular slide. Okay, for this particular line we have mentioned all these things in the above slide. Mutually inclusive and mutually exclusive events. Mutually inclusive events are the events that takes place together. That takes place together. It means that if you are doing a particular thing and second things goes on in accordance, okay, it goes automatically. That is called as inclusive events. And exclusive events are the independent events. Independent events. Let's say I met an accident, so I got some injury in my elbow, let's say. Okay. Now the cells were dividing at that particular place. So what is happening in the case of injury? In the case of injury, the cell division is taking place. The cell division is obviously taking place because the new cells need to be formed. But at this time, I am not reproducing. Okay, because reproduction has nothing to do with the cell division. So at that particular time, I am not reproducing. Plus, at this particular point of time, I am not making new individual also. Okay, it means that the cell division is occurring, the reproduction is not occurring. Okay, as simple as that. So cell division and reproduction are independent events in case of multicellular organisms. For example, in a plant, let's say a leaf is formed. So leaf is formed obviously by the cell division. So cell division is happening over here, but the plant is not reproducing at that particular moment, so reproduction is not happening. So reproduction and cell division are independent events or exclusive event. But in case of unicellular organism, there are a lot of things that you need to take into consideration, that you need to take into account. Let's say this is a cell. This is the cell of a bacteria. Now this bacterial cell is getting divided into two different cells. This is very obvious that the cell division is taking place over here. So what's happening over here, it is very important to note down. So a single cell is forming two different cells. Single cell is forming two different cells. It is cell division. Obviously, it is the definition of cell division that if one cell is going to form more than one cell, it is cell division. So cell division is taking place. Okay, it's correct. Now, a single parent cell. This was the parent cell. A single parent cell is dividing and it is forming two daughter cells. Okay, it is forming two daughter cells. So what is it? What it is? It is reproduction also. So one parent cell is forming two daughter cells. So the same thing is called as reproduction. I am not making even an extra arrow for that. Okay, it is called as cell division. It is also called as, the same process is also called as reproduction. Plus it is also called as growth. Why? Because what was growth? Growth was having twin characteristics. The first characteristic is increase in mass. Let's say the mass is not increasing in that particular case. But what was the second thing? The second thing was increase in the number of individuals. Here one cell is forming two cells. Okay, one parent organism, one parent bacteria is forming two bacteria. So from one individual, it has formed two individuals. So number of individuals has increased. So what is the thing that you need to note over here? What is the thing that you need to note over here is that it is called as cell division, it is called as reproduction, it is also called as growth. So all these three things are happening exactly at the very same time. So these are not independent. Since these are not independent, these are called as inclusive. So growth, cell division and reproduction are inclusive events in case of what? These are inclusive events in case of unicellular organisms. But these things are exclusive events or independent events in case of what? Multicellular organisms. This is very important from examinations point of view and very easy to understand. I think I have elaborated it in a great depth so you can easily understand it up. Now reproduction. Reproduction is the second character that you need to take into account. We have already talked about the growth. Now reproduction is the second character about which we are going to discuss. So reproduction is the characteristic feature of living organism because living organisms can show reproduction. Now reproduction is formed up of two words. The very first is re. Re means again. Okay, re means again. And production. This thing doesn't require an introduction. Production means producing the new things. It means that producing the progenies again and again and again, it's a process, it's a complex process called as reproduction. So in multicellular organisms, reproduction refers to the production of progeny features more or less similar to those of parents. It means that in multicellular organisms, the parent are giving rise to progeny which could be more or less similar to themselves. It means that they are going to be of same species. More similar means they are going to be similar in terms of species. In terms of species. Okay? Because if we are human beings, then my mother and father has given rise to me, given birth to me, I am also a human being. If I am going to reproduce further, I am also going to give rise to a human being. So the species is exactly the same. Less similar means there will be some sort of variations. There will be some sort of variations. It means that I am not 100% similar to my parents. I doesn't look 100% alike to my mother or my father. Okay, I'm a combination of them. So I do have some sort of variations. So that's why it is a word used over here, more or less similar to the parents. Invariably and implicitly, okay, we refer to sexual reproduction. यानी कि अगर आपको वेरिएशन देखनी है तो आपको सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन को रेफर करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज इन सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन द गैमेट फॉर्मेशन टेक्स प्लेस and the gamete fusion takes place. The first gamete comes from the female individual and the second gamete comes from the male individual, and they will be fusing their characters. So if they are fusing their characters, there will be generation of the new characters. There will be generation of variations. Okay, so sexual reproduction imparts the variation. Organism reproduce by asexual means also. It means that in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. One is male, one is female, one is mother, one is father. In asexual, the single parent can give rise to another progeny. For example, a rose plant. Let's say you have taken the stem cutting of a rose plant, you have just dropped it down on earth, and you found out after a week or a two that it has grown and it has become a new rose plant. So what happened in that particular case? There was no gametic fusion. Okay, the male and female gametes were not fusing. You have just taken a vegetative part of a plant and you have just dropped it down and it became a new plant. That is called as asexual reproduction, where only single parent is involved. For example, in fungus multiply and spread easily due to millions of asexual spores that they produce. So in fungus, there are bodies. Okay, there are sporangias. Okay, there are variety of structures called as fruiting bodies that contains a lot of spores, and when those spores are dispersed, they go to variety of places and they used to germinate to give rise to the new fungus. So fungus can easily multiply with the help of millions of asexual spores that they produce. In lower organism like yeast or hydra, the budding is observed. Budding is what? Budding is a outgrowth which is unequal. Let's make the bud. Okay, let's make the bud. Let's say this is the fungus. Let's talk about the spore first. Okay, let's say this is the fungus. This is, let's say, the fruiting body which is having a lot of spores. Okay, it is having a lot of spores in it. So when this wall is going to burst, these spores will be released in the air, sorry, and they will be dropped down to be germinated and to form a lot of fungus. Okay, they can give rise to a lot of fungus. Okay, this is the most important point. So this was the asexual spore of fungus. Now hydra or yeast, let's say this is an yeast, a unicellular yeast. It give rise to an unequal thing over here which is called as a bud, which is called as a short bud. This bud is going to grow in size, and after a particular point of time it will detach from the parent body, and this bud will form the whole new individual after growth. Okay, this particular thing is called as the budding. This also happens in hydra. In planaria, which is the flatworm or a platyhelminth, we observe true regeneration. It means that if you have fragmented the organism, then the lost parts of the body will be directly formed and a new organism will be formed. It means that the planaria will look something like this. Okay, I'm making a original planaria. Okay, the planaria looks like this. Okay, all right, good enough to understand. And this is the actual structure of a planaria. Let's say I have just broken down this planaria into three different pieces. Okay, this is the piece number one, this is piece number two, middle piece, and the lower one, that is piece number three. So what this planaria could do, this planaria could be showing true regeneration, and from a small part it will be making the whole planaria back. It will be regenerating the whole planaria's body. So I am writing into three. It means that three planarias were formed because there were three different fragments of this planaria. So as many fragments you are going to form from the planaria, it will be regenerating all the fragments accordingly. Okay, this is called as the true regeneration process. Okay. The fungus and the filamentous algae and the protonema of mosses, means the primitive stage of mosses, all can easily multiply by fragmentation. Let's take the example of a filamentous algae. Let's say that it is an algae which is filamentous. It means that it will be having a lot of filaments or a lot of subparts. So this is a part, this is another part, let's say, this is another part, let's say. So there were 3-4 different parts of this filamentous algae. Now what we are going to do, we are going to divide that part into fragment. So each fragment will be giving rise to a new individual. This is called as what? Making an organism from the fragment is called as fragmentation. As simple as that. It occurs in F for fungus, it occurs in F for filamentous algae, and it also occurs in protonema of mosses, which is its most important example. When we are going to read the plant kingdom, we will be talking about the protonema in detail. Okay? Alright. Now the next slide. When it comes to unicellular organism like bacteria and unicellular algae or amoeba, the reproduction is synonymous with the growth, that is increase in number of cells. We have already defined growth as equivalent to increase in cell number or mass. Hence we notice that single cell organisms, we are not very clear about the usage of the two terms, that is growth and reproduction. This is something that we have already taken into account. We have already talked about the inclusive and exclusive events. Here in this particular article, the inclusive events were considered. That in bacteria, since it is unicellular, if one cell is forming two cells, it is called as cell division. If one organism is forming two organisms, it is called as reproduction. If one organism is forming two individuals, it is basically called as growth, because it shows the twin characters, increase in number of individuals. So they are synonymous, or they are inclusive events. That's what we have considered over here. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce. For example, mules. Where you have seen mules? Mules is the first example that we have seen in the biological concept of species. It was not fertile. So, isn't mule living? It is obviously a living creature. But it's not fertile, or it do not reproduce, or it can't reproduce. So it does not show reproduction. So it's a exception to reproduction. We used to say that reproduction is shown by all living organisms. It's not going to be true, because we found an exception, that is mule, in this particular case, right? So that's why I have taken that thing into account, so that we can understand mule by that example. Plus, sterile worker bees. The worker bees do not reproduce at all. The queen and the drones used to reproduce. So worker bees are exception to reproduction, as they do not reproduce in their lifetime. Infertile human couple. I hope you have gone through the movie Vicky Donor. There are a lot of humans who can't, give rise to their progeny. Okay, they are infertile basically, or they are impotent. Okay, because impotent. Potent means they are not having the potency. Okay, impotent means they are not having the potency to make the new generation. So those were also exception to this particular case. Hence, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining character of the living organism. What is the defining character? It should be present in 100% of the living organism, and it should not be present in even in a single non-living thing. So reproduction can't be shown by even a single thing. So this criteria is satisfied, but it should be present in 100% of the living organism. But there are some exceptions. For example, infertile human couples, sterile worker bees, and mules. So this criteria is not satisfied. So ultimately, reproduction is not a defining feature. No non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. It is true, but in living there are some sort of exception, which is just giving rise to this contradiction. Okay, so we have already talked about some modes of asexual reproduction in this particular chart. So I hope that you got this video very well. It was very elaborated and very simple to understand. So just give me your feedbacks in the comment section so that we can hold the whole topic in the same way. I'm also making very good content for you guys in terms of questions. So what we are going to do is we are going to solve questions after each and every chapter. We are going to give recordings of each and every chapter. Okay. So ultimately each and every chapter will be completed in around 4 to 5 days. So we have the time of 1 to 2 days to practice, to do the practice. All right. So we will be doing it as much as possible so that we can track all the questions and we can score 350 marks by keeping the NCRT on our tips as well as solving a lot of good questions from top objective books which are written by authors. Thank you so much guys. Lots of love. If you want to take Unacademy's Plus subscription, please make sure to use the code VIPIN so that you can get a seat in my batch. Plus, you can also subscribe to this channel to get the free videos out of this channel. And you can like this video so that my motivation could be boosted up and I can make great content for you guys in the coming time also. And thank you so much. Lots of love and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for being so patient and reading all the things so carefully. Thank you.